Okay. Good morning, Brenda Angstrom, Webster County Treasurer. I'd like to address a few things before we start on my budget. I'll start with my expense. When I was voted into office and sworn in 2019, I cut my budget right off the bat by 12%. And I have never increased my expense side of my budget unless it was absolutely necessary for postage, um, the supplies going up and, everything, prices raising. I agreed, since I have been in office, to eliminate my staff by 3 people. In doing so, it's put a lot of burden on my office with the other employees. I understand a lot of the board members do not understand everything we do behind the scenes in our offices, which in my office, we do a lot. And some things do get affected by it. And it even pulls me away from doing a lot of my treasurer duties by doing this. When we decided to offer the early retirement, I had discussed with several board members that I had an employee that was most likely going to take this. But also at that time in the legislative session that was going on, sorry, I get a little, there was the cross county titling that we had been trying to push through since 2019 when I was voted into office. That is something the treasurer's worked on for, as you can tell, many, many years, because that year we were still waiting to see if it was going to pass. And I did state that if that passed, I may not be able to survive in the office without that employee being down. We have done well trying to do so, but the traffic has majorly increased in our office. And as a convenience for our citizens of Iowa, you can do a title in any county now that you're in. Fort Dodge, we know, is the main hub for a lot of employees in these smaller towns. And they come into us. They are so grateful now that they can come to our office and be able to get their title work done. And we have dealers, and I'm not talking dealers just in Webster County. I'm talking dealers that we have worked with for years that now will only send their paperwork to our office, since we are able to do all their paperwork for them, which is putting, a major overload on my employees in the office. So that is why I would like to suggest that we give our employees, our clerks, bigger raises this year. With this being said, I'm also going to discuss my revenue that I have brought into the office brought into the county since I have taken over as treasurer. Just our interest on investments. That's our main thing I'm going to talk about. In 2019, our interest on investments was $91,494. And if you look at the sheets that Crystal sent out, since I have been in office, the average is $756,705 a year. That's a year. And that includes our big pandemic, that those years that the interest rates went way down and we weren't able to get any money. That includes all that. I understand that working to get interest into the county and to be able to bring these funds in to help us run our county is the treasurer's job. But I just want to show how hard I work, and my staff covers for me, as we see with the recent situation with me. I have cross-trained so much that when I can't be in my office, my employees take over for me to do what they can as much as they can. So I have worked so hard to try to, as I said, bring more funds in and hopefully cut the cost for our taxpayers in Webster County. And then finally, our cross-county titling. As I said, we have all these dealerships and all these people coming in. The funds that are brought in extra for that, I don't have my exact dollars on me right now, but I can supply you with reports. As we spoke just at the last semi-annual meeting on my, sorry, take a breath, slow down. Okay. You know, we're bringing over thousands of dollars extra into the county just for that. We get $10 for any extra for any type of title work that we do. And that's a lot of titles a day. We could average 40 titles in one day. So that, I mean, we're bringing in an extra $400 that stays just right in our county. Something that we work so hard as treasurers to do. And if you want the reports, I'll be more than happy to print them to them. As you most of you know, I am limited at screen time. For now, I can't stimulate too much, so I couldn't do as much as I wanted to prepare for today. So with all this being said, I would like to reschedule my budget hearing to when I can sit down and put my salaries and increases in for my employees and the other clerks in Webster County. Why can't the department heads at least give you a dollar amount of what we would like to see these employees making? Last year, we were told we could only give a certain percent. And then what happened? We saw 10% raises, 9% raises. There was an office in the county, their clerks got 2% more than what any of the other clerks got. Why? Where is the difference in this? I guess I totally don't understand. We want to keep our employees that we have that do a great job for us. And when we are giving them 1%, 2% raises every year, what's going to keep them here? We used to get hundreds and hundreds of applications for jobs. When we started, when I applied at the county, there was almost 600 applications. We're lucky now if we get 100. It's not the glorious job that it used to be, that everybody wanted it. I just feel that we should be able, if we come to you with our budget, because I'm not going to be told like last year. Last year I was told, well, you didn't ask for raises, bigger raises for your employees. Well, I didn't ask because we did exactly what the board asked us to do. But these other department heads asked for it, so that's why they got it. And that's why it was voted to give them a bigger raise. I'm not saying there's one person in this county that doesn't work hard every single day. But I want my people to know that I appreciate, and Shauna's people and Courtney's people to know that we appreciate everything they do for us. And this county could not function without them. And when we train them that well, as I said, that I can be gone from the office and they can do this, do not everything, because, you know, there still are certain things a treasurer has to do, but that they can do this and be able to keep my office functioning without me being right there. They need to be compensated for what they do. And I just don't feel it's right with all this extra money that just my office alone is bringing in, that we cannot give our employees a better raise than 2%. I mean, last year was very upsetting. I mean, and I know that the board members were told by our budget advisor at that time that, and by me, that we needed to rethink my employees' raises after 6 months. I had brought it up, nothing ever got done with it, because of the fact that they do deserve to be paid what they're worth. Whether the department heads make those decisions of what they feel their employees are worth and bring it to you, and we sit down and discuss it, something needs to be done. I don't want to keep losing employees. And neither does any other department head. So I just feel it's something that we should all be able to address. And if we're going to submit our budget, then we need to submit our whole budget, not just part of it. And then what's going to happen? How are we ever going to know what the raises are supposed to be? Do you have anything in mind of what you planned on doing with raises this year? Last year, we were told that nobody could get over 2%. Nobody. We didn't have money in the budget to go over 2%. But then all of a sudden, all these people are getting all these bigger raises. They say because I've been told because they submitted information to show. Well, I can submit, and I just gave you information that is off the wall at how much extra money I'm bringing into the county and how much we're cutting our budgets to be able to still give our employees raises, but yet we still get voted down when we want to do that. So I just feel when we can talk about raises, it's a better time to talk about budget. You have my numbers. And once again, they show right there how much I'm bringing in and how much I'm spending. But I also feel we should be able to talk wages when we have our budget hearings. The last 2 years are the first time we have never been able to talk wages for our employees. Any questions?
I have more comments than questions and answers. First of all, thank you for advocating for your team.
And I'm not advocating for just my team. I'm advocating
I
for all.
wasn't done
Okay.
advocating for your team and the others in the courthouse. It's seen and it's appreciated. Secondly, I think a couple of the issues that you were referring to regarding raises were a department that is ruled by a conference board, which consists of this board plus mayors. That is its own animal. And at that time, I said the decisions that we make in this board will affect our budget. I was told it wasn't. It obviously has. Third, or whatever it is, in regards to the sheriff's office, the sheriff saw what happened in that and used the Back the Blue legislation to move the needle for him. So those are very unique situations. I think about all the extra money that your department brings in, and that is very true, but we just had a gentleman leave here. His department brings in no money. Does that make his department less important to the county as far as giving raises?
As I said, I was not talking just my office.
Okay.
I'm talking all the funds that I bring in extra. Why can't we give our employees? I'm not saying just the treasurer, not one time did I say just the treasurer's office.
I didn't say you did.
But that's what I'm saying. You asked, and I said I was asking
Thank
for
you.
everybody.
Thank you. And I understand that. We need to think of the bigger picture here. We have mentioned that only over the past years have we asked department heads to come with 0% so we can get an idea of the base. That is in direct response to House File 718, which caps our growth at 3%. That is why. Now we're looking at a state legislature who has 4 different property tax legislation bills that they're discussing right now. We're talking anywhere from a 2% cap to a 4% cap that we know of. That still keeps us in that range. There's also a talk of a change in government structure, making elections for some offices now appointments. There's also talk of consolidation of not only departments, so your department could be merged with the recorder's department.
I understand all that.
And I'm just saying this for the public as well, because I think we deserve a response. And not only a consolidation of offices / departments, but also counties. So we're talking Humboldt County, Webster County, combining offices. We are looking at all of that and is next to impossible to forecast on what is the state legislature going to do this year. What we're trying to do, what I'm trying to do is get a base, figure out what, and we're also dealing with supplies. We just talked about that, supplies and services increasing anywhere from 4 to 10%. We know that. We know that this is happening. I lose sleep because of this. I lose sleep because of having to have employees no longer be here and the hard decisions that we have to make. But we are dealing with a legislative session and a political climate right now that says quite literally, local governments and counties don't know what they're doing in regards to property taxes. So we're going to have to cap them again. And we're trying to figure that out. There is nothing more, and I say it all the time, there's nothing more that I would like to do than give our employees raises because I think they're fantastic. But realistically, given what we're dealing with, given what we're looking at in the state legislature, given what we're looking at as far as supply costs going up, service costs going up, we don't know if we can, which is why we ask for the base so we can see what can we do? What are we able to do? And that's what we've tried to do for the past 3 years because it's next to impossible to forecast for this, but we're doing the best we can. So if you don't want to talk anymore about your budget, that's fine. But these are things that we have to consider. And I think it's important that you and all the employees know that. We're not advocating for them. We don't not want them to get raises. That is not the issue whatsoever. It's the way that our hands are tied with how much we can do. If we've got supplies increasing by 8% and we're capped at 3%, how much room does that leave for salaries? Alternatively, in the private sector, there are people who do not get raises, period. We, at least over the past few years, have tried to give something and taken nothing for ourselves. So I just think it's important that when we talk wage increase, we get the full story of what we're looking at.
I agree with everything you said, except, I mean, the thing of it is I talked to all these other county treasurers, and why are these counties able to give their employees 5, 6? There was a county a couple of years ago that got a 10% raise, and that was after 7/18. There are some counties that are not taking raises this year, but as they have stated in our emails, they're okay with that because they have gotten such huge raises the last few years that it doesn't matter if this year they don't get one. I mean, I that's the part I don't get.
Right.
But yet I'm bringing in all these extra funds that we could use to compensate our employees. Why can't we use any of that money for that?
Well, let's talk about the other counties first and foremost.
Okay.
A lot of counties freaked out when 7/18 hit, and they said, we need to make sure that we give our people a whole bunch of stuff. These are also counties that may not necessarily have the job pool that we have. Maybe nobody wants to move to their county. And in a lot of cases, these counties who are doing this are the reason why we're back in the state legislature talking about 2% cap now. So I don't think that it's a fair comparison to say, well, so-and-so county got an 8% raise. Why can't we be like them? When we're trying to do things responsibly.
I'm not saying that I want to be like them. I'm just saying I don't understand the difference that our employees only get a 2%. I mean, why can't we give them a 3 or a 4%? I mean, that's what I'm saying. When these other people are getting 6 and 7 and 10 and 9%, why can't our employees at least get a 3? I mean, the cost of living this year is going up 2.8.
Yeah.
And we have all this going up and our insurance rates go up, but yet our employees get a 2% raise. Yes, that covers a little bit of it. But I had an employee last year bring in her tax statement just to show the money she lost from the year before to this year.
Mhm.
So our employees are actually getting pay cuts, even though we don't see that because they're getting a 2% raise. They're actually getting a pay cut because everything else is going up. So they don't, I mean, they have less money to survive. We have people that are single mothers, single fathers that are trying to raise children. And they can't even afford to live, and they have a job with the county. I mean, it's really hard to see this. And I guess, and also I would like, I mean, you all say you appreciate our employees and you feel they all deserve it. Maybe we should state that more to them and not just the department heads. These employees don't see any of you guys hardly at all anymore. And for them not to feel appreciated is terrible. I mean, just to say, hey, we totally appreciate you. I understand we can't give you huge raises right now, but I want you to understand we know what you're doing in our offices. We know how you're making our county flow every single day. And we do appreciate you. I say it till I'm blue in the face to my employees. I say it to other office employees on a daily basis. We appreciate you. If we did not have you guys, we would not be able to do what we do on a daily basis. And it needs to be stressed by everybody. Explain to them why. Maybe you should have meetings and explain to the employees, maybe an office at a time. I am so sorry. This year, we're only going to be able to give you a 2% raise. And this is why. We try, we're trying our best, but yet we can't. Our hands are tied. And but I want you to know how much we appreciate you. Um Yesterday everything was closed but county government. Give them that extra day off. Add that to the
Not
calendar.
everything was closed. I worked yesterday.
I'm talking government wise. You're talking state, federal. Everything was closed but the county.
Okay, if that's what you want, then we can take away other times that we are not closed when the other places are open.
That seems to be the excuse for everything. We have to stay open because this office is open. We can't close because this is happening.
Okay, can we get back to budget, please?
That is part of the budget. That's what we're talking raises, and but you won't let me put it on my budget.
And no, because I explained why.
Well, really, part of what you look at the end of the day, like all the other counties that did the 6.8, the big percentages there, the culmination of their efforts to go do that is why we're back at the legislature making bigger cuts to county governments. At the end of the day, that's, I've talked about this with one of the unions last year even, unlike the private sector, all of us, everything hinges on property tax dollars coming in, money coming in from your office. We don't have, at my other employers, when the prices go up, when consumer prices go up or inflation goes up, we increase our prices. The county government, we don't have the flexibility to generate income fluidity compared to the rest of the private sector. And so we get very constrained, unlike others. And one of those constraints, what happens is when you see the other counties that do a lot of these big raises, and I've talked to people about this, what happens is everybody sees that, and then the state legislator turns around and they say, well, all these other counties are doing it, we can be doing it right. And maybe we are, maybe aren't. I'm not saying we're perfect in anything. We've tried to be responsible with our budgets. I know it's not always liked all the time. I think we want to make sure that we give our employees what we can, something that we've done this last year that we haven't probably done. And not in the 3 years I've been here, going on 4 years I've been in here, we haven't done it since I've been in here. And I don't know if we've ever done it before, is shutting down and having all county days, actually making investments in our people, encouraging folks to have one-on-one conversations, encouraging to figure out growth with each other. We've tried to really promote that, I felt, and then invest in our people. Not every employer does, half days or full days off to go do that. You know, so we're trying to make those kind of investments in our people because we can't always do 3 or 5% raises. And I get it. I'm 100% behind you when you come in and advocate for not even just your people, but for everybody. That's kind of what you need to do. Like that's, you know, you're their department head. That's what you're expected to do. But when I see all the other counties that do that, the one thing I always hear about right after that is all these other counties are doing it. And then the first thing you hear about is people complaining about their property taxes going up. This is happening. And then once it gets down to Des Moines, it's, well, we're going to start putting hard caps on. So now I know what's going to end up happening when you look at the hard caps that they're looking at right now. It's going to end up being not so much just we can't give raises. It's we're going to figure out how to reduce staffing still. That's what a lot of counties, especially the ones that have consistently been giving out some of these big raises, that will be their solution to that, because they're not going to cut employees' pay. They're going to have to cut staff to reduce that. And what we're trying to do is to make it so that we can keep and retain all the people that we have, because I feel like we have some of the absolute best here. I 100% believe that because I see it happen and how we work and operate in this building. But we also have to be mindful that if we start to follow some of that trend of the others where we do some of those big raises, like Supervisor Conrad said, the other ones that happened are with boards that are held outside of this, not held outside of this room, but they're managed, they're structured differently. So we don't have that kind of authority in that boardroom. But conference board, for example, we're one vote. I get what you're saying. The board itself is one vote in that room. With the sheriff's office, he has, you know, the state legislator put out the back of the blue that he can do that. And we don't have.
Bother me that he got a raise.
Well, no, what I'm saying, but when we talk about, you know, hey, we had all these other departments get these raises, what I'm saying is I get what you're saying, but some of those are either structured differently or have legal ramifications otherwise with them that we have to be cognizant of. So what we have to do is be as responsible as we can with the budget dollars that we have. And we've tried to make, and like I said, I felt, and maybe I'm not doing enough even myself, but, you know, we've tried to start making some of these investments in our people and, you know, bringing in, like Susan Parker to help, total brain fart her name and all of a sudden, you know, to help with, you know, how do we grow ourselves and our people culturally, taking the time off for our people, you know, like I said, I've worked in the private sector where those don't happen at all.
Right.
And I've worked in the private sector where I've done 80, 90-hour weeks and I'm getting paid far less than others. And it's a struggle. I totally understand that struggle because, you know, I got 6 kids now and I'm the only income in our house.
Right.
So it's not that we don't understand and we don't empathize. It's we have the culmination of everything to look at. And I get what you're saying. We do. We want you to be the advocate for people because that's what you got elected to do. You got elected to run that office, as you see. And we need to help support that. But we have to do that within the confines of what we're legally allowed to do. And then what's responsible to do, because at the end of the day, if we start doing, and I wouldn't be opposed to the big raises for everybody if I could. I mean, I do think that there's opportunities where we do have people that are underpaid. But the problem is unlike private sector and other business, we don't have the fluidity and the ability to do that. And I think, you know, and that's part of my concern with these other counties when I had this in another department meeting, or not a department meeting, but discussing another budget, I said, you need to be cognizant of some of the counties that we look at because they need to share that same mentality of fiscal responsibility too. Because when you look at the ones that are truly fiscally responsible, unfortunately, that's what you end up seeing is consistently 2, 3, maybe 4. I mean, you get into some of that space, you know, depending on, you know, the growth they had that year or whatever. But where you see the biggest influxes are the counties where they're really trying to attract people. You know, you talked about having 600 applicants or whatever it was. We used to get, now we're down to 100, 120. I think I heard 120 or something at one of them. You know, there's other counties where they could put out, you know, high level, probably high paying job and they're going to get like 2 people for it just because they're not, they don't have the draw there. And that's part of the, you know, how they have to try to get people in the door. So I appreciate you. I appreciate everybody in your office. I appreciate you coming in here with veracity to advocate, you know, not just for them, but for everybody. I do appreciate it. And that's kind of what I would want to see that, but what we also want to portray is, you know, we also have fiscal responsibility we have to do. If you wanted to put in there and at least show us what you think that would be, I can understand that, but I can't promise that that's what we're going to be able to.
Well, and I'd never, like I said, just at least be able to present it to you. I mean, yes, I understand there's got to be discussion. You have to show, you know, we don't have the money to do this much, Brenda, but let's work together and maybe this year we can give them this much. And then we'll work next year at maybe giving them this much more. I mean, when the clerks had a union, we always did that with the board. We worked out, I was the union steward before I was treasurer, and we worked all that out. To where some year, you know, we discussed it with the board. Okay, this year, let's do a 2%, but then next year we'll do a 3, and then the next year we'll do 3.5. We'll try to work our way up to try to be able to pay you better. And back to the Susan Parker thing, I totally understand and I agree, and it is a wonderful thing, but unless we are actually fully closed, my office can't go. Because even cutting down half my staff, I only have 7 people in my office right now. And then the part-time person. I only have 7 people in my office. So at one time, there's only 3 people in the office. If I do that, unless I don't go at all, then there can be 4 and, you know, 4 for each time. We can't do that. We cannot run my office with only 4 people. It's just too hard. You don't know what the day's going to be. We don't know what the traffic's going to be. There are so many things that we do on the backside that people don't see that have to get done also. And that takes 1 or 2 people out of the picture. So you have 2 people trying to do everything else in the office. We can't function with that less of people. And that's another thing I wanted to discuss that deals with wages. I do have one of my long timers that is planning on leaving in September. And that was something else I wanted to discuss with you guys also. My permanent part-time, if she would accept it, I would like starting July 1st, her to be a full-time person. So if that's what she wants to continue to do, then we can start training her. So when Caroline leaves in September, it's not crazy chaotic, which once again, causes less people to be able to work the counter and things like that in the office on a daily basis, because now we're taking 2 people out because we have to train this person, all this new stuff. And this way, if Jackie would decide to stay, we can just slowly, starting now, because she's been coming in part-time, you know, since I haven't been able to be here as much, she's been coming in. We can start training her to do more so that when Caroline does leave, who is huge in our office. I mean, Mindy is learning the banks right now, and she's trying to learn everything, and there's a lot to learn. It is crazy, but there's 2 people, and we're down to only 5 people on a normal basis. So when I'm gone, unfortunately, we're down to 4. So then they have to walk away from the bank stuff to go do that. And that's just what I mean by our employees work so hard. And as you all know, I am a major cross trainer. I have cross-trained my employees so much that I think sometimes they want to scream at me because I'm constantly trying to teach them something new. But we need to do that. And as I told them, if elected this year, I will also start training as of January 1 of 27. I will also start training someone in my office to be able to help with all the duties that I do, so that my office can function, you know, and can do things. But it's hard. It is really hard to be able to sit down with these people and train them on something, because like I said, it takes us out of the picture. And so I'm down that many more people. And like I said, it's hard to function in that office with only 4 people. I mean, it is really hard. I mean, the phone ringing off the wall and, people trying to come in. And I always tell my employees, which Shauna knows and Courtney knows, they get the calls. Phone's the last thing we worry about. If there's somebody standing at that counter face to face with you, they're the most important at that time. Am I wrong by that? I don't know, but that's what I believe my customer service should be. That person standing there right in front of me that needs to be helped. I know the people on the phone need to be helped, and I appreciate that they call and ask questions before they come in, because then they can have all their paperwork ready for us when they come in. But we have a lobby full of people and people standing outside our door. Those people have to be taken care of also. So it's just, I mean, there's a lot of things, and I didn't come up here to cause chaos in the courthouse. I just wanted to state how I felt, and that I am bringing in all this extra money that's not affecting the tax dollars. I understand the tax dollars are getting cut more and more. And I understand that some of this money that I'm bringing in helps cover what we're losing by those caps. But I also want to be able to compensate employees, as you said too, Austin, that are wonderful in the county, that this courthouse functions because of them, not just because of their department head, but because they know and they're willing to learn. Heck, my new employee, I've never seen anybody learn stuff so fast. She's crazy. She wants to know everything right now. I mean, and she's doing wonderful. Carrie is doing wonderful. She does not want to not know everything going on in our office. I shouldn't have called her crazy, but she kind of is. But it's just the whole thing of, those are the kind of employees I love, because they're like me. And if I can find an employee that is ambitious and willing to learn and everything like I am, that is a wonderful thing for me. And I have several of those in my office. And it's just like, okay, they're all go-getters. Let's learn. Let's get this accomplished. And that's just how I feel. And Shauna, I mean, she came in and her employees have done wonderful for her. I mean, she's doing great. Courtney was trained enough. She can take over that office now. I mean, it's just, there's so many things that we need to look at. And it's all about the training and the appreciation that our employees feel. And that appreciation's huge, really, really huge, for them to know how much we care about them.
Brenda, would your budget change with that part-time to full-time in July?
Just the salary part of
Just
it, yes. Just on those dollar amounts, yeah.
Could you change it up and send it out to us with that change? Because that makes sense to me.
But it doesn't have, we don't have the salaries on there anyway.
I mean, you have the salaries on there right now.
Okay, so I added what the past year's salaries were, or this current fiscal year that we're in. So I did not do adjustments to Brenda's, because I know she has had one person that had been there for a while has changed, so pay has changed between people, plus I knew she had a part-time. So I left hers the same.
Okay.
The only thing I adjusted was what the current Blue Cross is.
Okay.
So hers is the same as it was the current fiscal year that we're in, that she budgeted. Everything stayed the same, because I mean, her deputies stayed the same, she stayed the same. It was just like one change.
Well, in all actuality, it will still be lower.
I was gonna say,
Because
right, because,
Caroline's one of my top clerks,
yeah,
and Jackie will be at the lowest. So there'll be a big, I mean, there's like maybe $7, $8 difference in their pay. So that will be a big difference there too.
I mean, that might give us a little more wiggle room when we're talking raises too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So
I didn't
if
think
you
there would
two
be an
could- Could you work
Yeah.
with that and
Yep.
see?
Yeah, because she said she would be done. Caroline is planning on retiring by the end of September. She keeps telling me she'll stay till the end of September, and I told her she better, because it's tax season. But, if she leaves me, I don't have a choice. But, but she will be leaving. And that's why I say on July 1, I would like to, if Jackie would accept it, I would like to make her full-time right away with that budget, because I mean, I understand I don't have enough money in my budget this year to make her full-time right now, but it gives us 2 months to start training her, or 3 months.
That's a move that makes sense.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, when you look at it, I mean, that's a move.
Because there are things that she does, and she's already talked to me about it, that she does, that like, suspended taxes, little things like that. They sound little, but they're a lot of work to get them done. And she works on that. I mean, that's something she can start training Jackie or something like that. I mean, I've put a lot of stuff on the plate for Jessica and Dawn right now, because I keep giving them more and more. Those two are always helpful, and they're learning every day also. But it's just the fact that then I can start saying, okay, July 1, we're going to have this person full time, and I can start looking more at the duties and what I'm going to start giving to people, so we can, me, I'm a planner. I like to have things planned out, what I plan to do. And then that way I can have those people ready to start learning, or even, if I know it's going to happen, when Jackie comes in, I can have her start learning stuff already. I mean, it's just things we need to look at. And I would appreciate that. That is one thing I did want to bring to your attention, and I was going to bring that to your attention no matter what. And I know I've talked to Nate about it. And Austin, I thought I had already talked to you about it too. Maybe I hadn't. But I had talked to Nathan. Sorry, I call you Nate all the time. Nathan about it, about, me bringing somebody on full-time right away in July. So that is something I really would like to decide if that's what we're going to do, and go that route too. But yes, and if we can do that, as you can see, my budget hasn't changed much from last year with the expense, but except for the revenues went up tremendously. And I'm hoping to keep it that way. But with the expense, it's only went up. And then now you say that about supplies, I'm thinking, gal, should have I? But we do get help with supplies. I will say that, because part of our supplies do come from the state. So that is why I'm able to keep my expense budget so low, because we get paper, and I think some of our envelopes are paid for by the state. But other stuff we do still have to order off for the tax side. So that is another reason why I can keep my expense budget lower. So I don't know. I just had to get my feelings out there. Maybe sitting at home so much has made me crazier and writing things down. But I just appreciate the employees in the courthouse so much that I've always advocated for them, and I will continue to do so, because they mean the world to me. She knows that. So.
I know I
Sorry.
said my piece. Did anybody else?
Just have one thing to say. Just that I want to compliment Brenda for her cross training, because what happened in December, of course, me as auditor has to check on her office, and they are a well cross-trained office. Both the deputies and their whole team jumped right in and took over. And so I felt like, shoo, I didn't have to go down, and I did check on them, because that is my duty. But they are a well-trained office. I mean, they do very well.
That was my big goal. But I should have used it in my campaign speeches. I will cross train. Anybody else?
Anybody?
Okay, I will work on that. I'll get Jackie all figured out.
That might give a.
Well, because it's in it, like I said, September will
Mhm.
so be gone,
Mm-hmm.
and Jackie will be about $8 less. So my salaries will actually decrease
Mm-hmm.
a little.
That's what I was thinking too. And it
That
makes,
was not, 'cause you know what, to be honest, I didn't even think about that.
That's why I left it the same, because I was like, well, I know there's gonna be adjustments and whatnot. And
Yeah,
so
but-
I was like, I'm just gonna leave
but
it.
even if it gives
As
Little wiggle
Jackie
room still.
said she would accept the
Like a-
position.
wiggle room.
It has. She is
Well, it's a public meeting now, so.
She also knows that she's another go-getter.
Yes.
Like, I mean, like I said, there's not one person out this, just like me, and that is why it's so easy to frustrate. And so easy to get them to do everything, you know, to learn everything. And unfortunately, yes, I had to be gone, but they only asked me questions they knew they had to, because I am not supposed to have much screen time, but
Are you following that?
no.
That's why I looked at you like, we're still recording.
Yeah, all right.
We gotta move on.
The neurologist I'm supposed to be seeing. Well, he said at 2 months, so hopefully he'll let me drive. It's just because they just.
I like to drive.
The girls come and pick me up every morning. When I do come in, I had planned on coming in yesterday. But I planned on coming in the other day.
Thank you.
My balance is off so bad.
I bet.
You're welcome. Thank you. Sorry I took up so much time, but thank